Music. It's not just part of our daily lives, it's part of our wrestling fandom as well, and it has been for decades. That's where this show comes in. Music of the Mat, the podcast devoted exclusively to the music of pro wrestling, hosted by Andrew Rich. Hey, that's me. Each episode delivers a different topic with a variety of great guests, fun conversations, musical analysis, and of course, a heartfelt pun or two. New episodes drop every other Tuesday on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcast app of choice. Check out Music of the Mat only on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Welcome back to another episode of The Good, The Bad, and The Hungee here on the Voice of Wrestling Podcasting Network. I am your host, Tyler Fornes. With me, as always, is Fred Moreland, who was just granted his 9th season of college football eligibility. How are you?
I'm doing well. This is one of my all-time favorite headlines. I just cackled when I read this morning on ESPN right before we started. But yeah, Miami tight end Cam McCormick granted 9th year of eligibility. That is...
Listen. If you can
fantastic.
Get your second doctorate while playing college football, you do it. And
buddy, he would have graduated med school if he had wanted to. He'd already be this after this. He would be a year done with residency. It is wild. He's had so many injuries, I guess, and like with the COVID year and everything else, he redshirted a year. It's wild. This is a fantastic. I don't know. It possibly so good. He is 25 years old. Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Anyways.
Wait. He's only 25? He's not 26 or 27?
No, he's only 25 right now. I know, right? But I guess he will turn 26 at some point in the coming season. But yeah. Okay, so let's talk about what this podcast is really about, which is other college football news. Bill O'Brien joining Ryan Day's Ohio State staff as OC. Thoughts?
God, it's so fucking funny. I don't even think Bill O'Brien's a bad coach or necessarily a bad hire. It's just completely uninspiring.
Yeah.
And I think he'll do okay. He did all right at running Saban's offense, but I found this stat interesting. Will Brinson of CBS Sports, who's an NFL writer, said Bill O'Brien has been a part of Bill Belichick and Nick Saban's staff for a total of 8 seasons, and he doesn't have a single Super Bowl or national championship.
Yeah.
That's just hilarious. But Ohio State needed a jolt. But you know what I think they really needed? Somebody who's young and innovative, and that is not what Bill O'Brien is in the slightest.
They're going to fire Ryan Day, aren't they? Like, soon.
Yeah. Like
in the next year or two, probably. Just he'll go like 11-2, lose to Michigan both years, and they'll just be like, "Bye, we hate you. We hate you so much."
That most people don't understand about college football is if you lose to your hated rival, that's like 6 losses.
Yeah, it's rough.
Like, you can't lose. Like, we made fun of the Hugh Freeze hire that Auburn made, but why did they make the hire, which was morally questionable? Because Hugh Freeze just beats Nick Saban.
Boy. Yeah, and so now they got their Saban killer and no Saban.
Well, they just killed Saban, so
yeah.
I mean,
they did. They definitely did not. He killed Auburn in the most Auburn way possible.
That's actually kind of true.
That was all but the kick 6 in reverse.
Oh God, the kick 6 is still one of the best moments of college football history.
I watched that live in a Chewy's restaurant, and they just happened to sit us on the half of the restaurant with TVs, and I just freaked out loudly in a place that was not like a sports bar. Not because I have any Auburn or Bama affiliation, though I am wearing a Alabama T-shirt because I like the retro Big Al. Is very good. Home Field Apparel sponsor us. But yeah, like I just freaked out because that was the wildest play I had ever seen in football in a positive way. I don't know if it's as wild as when hell, you're gonna hate me for this, but the Vikings wide receiver converted to quarterback who, like, in the playoffs just had the worst game ever, and at some point Joe Webb threw a ball like directly straight up in the air. And I just remember, like, my wife being so put off by my reaction to that I was chastised.
Yeah. What's funny is the first kick six I ever saw was against the Vikings.
Hey!
Antonio Cromartie took it 109 yards. But
Nice.
nobody really talks about that in Vikings history. You know why?
Why is that?
Adrian Peterson ran for 296 yards that day.
Yeah, you'll take
that. Set an NFL record.
If you got to have that trade-off. Man, I was really, that was about the beginning of the end of me, like, particularly caring about the NFL. It's that Joe Webb game. I think at that point I just had like a breakthrough. It was like, I can't be this invested in shit like this. I just can't. Joe Webb had made his professional boxing debut at UAB Bartow Arena on Saturday, August 5th, 2023, which resulted in a majority draw.
Wow.
Yeah.
Learned something new today. He's not the first former Viking to go into professional boxing. While he was a member of the Vikings, defensive end Ray Edwards got into boxing.
Yeah.
I think he was actually pretty good. I mean, not good enough to win a title or anything.
Well, sure.
Good.
But yeah, like, I listened to the Shutdown Fullcast yesterday, and they just, like, joke for 15 minutes about how Ohio State has this coach who, on paper, is extremely successful. You know, like, if you just said to someone in a vacuum, hey, your coach will get you to, like, the top 10 pretty much every year, you'll win double-digit games every year, and you will go to a major bowl, if not the playoff, every year. And he's just going to get fired because they don't like him, basically. It's like a little, almost a Rich Rodriguez at Michigan, but more successful than Rich Rod was.
Oh, Rich Rod. It's actually funny about Rich Rod because he's actually doing really well at Jacksonville State now.
Yeah. That kind of, you know, I think that's like the kind of coach he is, the kind that, like, at a second tier or even third tier, because I mean, no offense to Jacksonville State, but I think it'd be kind to label them a second tier D1 program. He will do well, and then he gets up to, like, a big school and then just, like, is too big of an asshole and is not that successful.
Yeah. I think he's perfect at Jacksonville State, that level, because it makes that level better and more fun.
Yeah.
But he honestly shouldn't have left West Virginia. Like, going to Michigan at that point in time was just a bad decision. It's hard to fault him for it, but he shouldn't have done it. Yeah, Odie, I know Okada's gone, and we're going to talk about it here in a second.
Yeah. Let's talk about wrestling.
Kazuchika Okada has informed New Japan Pro Wrestling that he is leaving the company. And let's kind of start with some of the basics before we get to the reaction. Kazuchika Okada, on Thursday, the 18th, in Japan, gave his notice that he was leaving the company after his contract expired on the 31st of January. As of right now, he will be working the major New Beginning dates in both Sapporo and Osaka. But this is a decision that felt inevitable, but also came out of left field. Fred, you spoke to an economist kind of about the economy, and I saw somebody speculate that what he's making right now is similar to what he was making his rookie year in Japan, just due to how poor the economy is over there right now.
Yeah, I don't know that I believe that. That seems a bit out of pocket, you know, just because I assume his contract is for many more yen than that rookie contract was, and he probably was going to get offered even more to go back to Japan. But yeah, one of my friends is an economist and a professor at a pretty big college. And so I asked him just about, like, the basics of Japan's economy, and this is what he gave me. So basically, so Japan's been very stagnant with mild economic growth since basically they had a huge stock market crash in 1989, and they're still kind of, like, defined by that economically. So they're just kind of mediocre from a economic growth perspective. The primary reason for the drastic strengthening of the dollar versus the yen, which for wrestling fans is basically why New Japan World is, so cheap with the conversion rate. Basically, the U.S., our federal bank went off 0% interest rates a couple years ago. Now, Japan has not had as much inflation as we did in the U.S. During COVID. And so Japan has been slow about adjusting their interest rates. So, the way my friend put it was, when you have a currency that you can invest in short-term government securities with about a 5% return, which is what the dollar is, and while in Japan you get basically nothing back in return, that tends to shift demands for currency. So that's why the dollar is strong versus the yen right now. So add on like New Japan's reliance upon the live gate as their primary driver of financial revenue versus AEW and WWE. They're primarily getting money from TV, really, especially WWE, their business is not so much selling to fans as it is selling to third parties, whether that be television stations or Saudi Arabia or anyone else willing to give them money, like basically doing paid shows on a 7 or 8 figure level. When these, cities are offering them these budgetary breaks, these incentives to come run a show there, that really changes the status of the game. And AEW and WWE just have so much more money to splash around than New Japan or anyone else in the world. So, yeah, I think financially it's not a surprise. The only real surprise is that basically it's the biggest star in Japan making this jump, which is unprecedented. Like not when Shinsuke Nakamura made the jump to WWE, he was like the third guy in New Japan and like a big star, obviously over there, but still the third guy. And behind Okada and Tanahashi. And he also was late stage career. He had a few more years, I think, on where the Rainmaker is right now, if I'm not mistaken. Though, let me double check myself there. But yeah, I think Nakamura was probably in worst. Actually, no, they're about the same age, interestingly enough. They're about, I do think Nakamura was probably worse off physically than Okada, just as a casual observer. But it's just going to be very interesting at this point which route is taken. You've got AEW and WWE, and WWE would probably put less stress on Okada's body, and I don't know that they necessarily would offer more money, but in a sense, just in terms of how much revenue they have, they'd be able to offer more money than AEW. Now, if Tony Khan wants to reach into his own pockets or his dad's pockets and splash some more cash, that is, especially with the anticipated increase in rights fees that they're banking on, I think that's a big deal. So I don't know. It'll be very interesting to watch. Obviously, he's close friends with the Young Bucks, who are in AEW. So that is a point in their favor. On the other hand, WWE has been trying to be like, hey, look at how we treat our Japanese stars like Shinsuke Nakamura, who we definitely have always pushed as a big star. Please don't fact check this. But they've been pushing him, strongly over the past year or so. And they also have been keeping the likes of Asuka and Kairi Sane at high levels when they've been around. So I don't know. It's a fascinating situation. And honestly, if AEW gets it, I mean, that'll be big for them. But I also think that we're in a situation where this could be, I mean, this is bad, I think, for wrestling on a global level. The consolidation of top level talent in just one or two promotions where they frankly can't even really use them all well, means that the smaller promotions, whether it be in the New Japan level, which is still damn big, or on down, it's just weakening their the ability of those promotions to put on great shows and great matches and stuff that'll entertain me. So in that sense, I kind of hate this.
this is a very interesting one, and I'm going to start here, as Odie is crying in the background because he really misses Okada already. I'll say this much: Okada leaving New Japan just tells me he wants to put on Nick Jackson's gear more often. My lean is AEW. I really think his love for the Young Bucks and the amount of matches that he could have, high-end matches, while also not working nearly as much. Like, he doesn't have to do a G1 again. He can still have high-end matches every so often to fill like the artistic void, but also have an easier schedule. WWE is still possible. I fully concede that, but it's going to be fascinating to see where he ends up and how he's utilized on American television, because his style doesn't necessarily suit American TV that well, as far as how American TV wrestling television is structured. But I'm sure he'll be just fine. He's Kazuchika Okada. But I think what's more fascinating is what changes in New Japan. I think this is great for wrestling in the sense that you get new people elevated. You get to see new stars born. You get to see how this company deals with that adversity, considering they've already dealt with it to a point. They dealt with it in 2016 when Nakamura, Styles, and the Good Brothers all left. I think seeing who will come out of this in a much better spot and who will elevate themselves, I think is going to be a fascinating watch. I think Okada in WWE just feels like boring.
Mm-hmm.
I really just don't care. I think like if he just shows up at WrestleMania and you hear the coin drop, like, okay, that's kind of cool. Awesome. Then after that, it's like, I don't care. At least in WWE, you'd hear the coin drop, and then, okay, maybe we'll get Omega Okada 5. Maybe we'll get Samoa Joe versus Okada, Hangman Page one-on-one with Okada. Like, there's like matches to look forward to if he comes to AEW. You really don't have that in the same way with WWE. What, is Okada going to be like the 400th person to lose to Roman Reigns?
Yeah.
Like, I don't necessarily...
he could beat Seth Rollins for the fake title.
Oh boy. I don't necessarily think that AEW needs Okada, but if you have the opportunity to get the greatest, arguably the greatest wrestler of all time, you don't say no. What I do think would be really cool is he shows up at Nostalgia Gate for Dragon Gate in March.
That would be wild.
Awesome.
That would be wild.
He did put Ultimo Dragon did put on his Instagram that Okada met with him to tell him he was leaving New Japan, and apparently Okada does that every time he makes like a major decision or something. So there is still ties there, and Ultimo being back within the Dragon Gate fold after all the weird stuff with Torimon, it's not impossible.
Yeah, and in terms of booking, I think a huge aspect of this is that as far as New Japan goes, I don't think you really get that much juice out of having like rushing him jobbing to whoever you choose from the Reiwa 3, whether it be that generation, just to widen it, whether it be Tsuji or Umino or Yuya Uemura or Ren Narita, any of these guys. I don't think, just because you rush a one-off loss is not as big of a deal as if you spend months, doing a program about who is the face of New Japan. If you build it to really establish a guy. So I do think that hurts New Japan long-term, is that they aren't going to be able to really use Okada to help establish this next generation.
It kind of sounds like they're not doing that at all, though. From my understanding, it's going to be Okada Tanahashi one more time.
Yeah.
And
which is, I think, the right way to go, frankly, just from a creative direction.
Yeah. They're going to drop the 6-man belts. And I think if you're going to drop the 6-man belts, you have Fuji to pin Okada.
Yeah.
That's one way to help elevate. I'm with you. I don't think forcing a win with Umino or Tsuji, Narita, or Uemura makes any difference. There's not really a build. Shota already had a match with Okada. Did they do a singles? I think they did. If they didn't, they did tags, and Okada basically just beat him up like a young boy. That was obviously setting something up down the line, but like you have to build those kind of stories. This is how Puro works, and sometimes you don't get to finish them, and that really stinks. But I think it's kind of cool that you're gonna get to see Okada Tanahashi one more time. Tanahashi's probably gonna pin him convincingly, and then Tanahashi's gonna start putting over the younger generation like he's already been doing.
Yeah,
so,
the problem is Tanahashi is struggling. Yeah,
just let him wrestle Zack Sabre Jr. every night. That works.
Yeah, that helps. Yeah, I mean, it's very funny that people are trying to tie this to anything economically with Bushiroad. Is that Bushiroad does not make their money off of New Japan. Really, it's talking. They do trading cards. That's the source of the dollars. So yeah, it's a shame. In a way, I obviously would favor him going to AEW because I think we just get a lot more quality stuff from that relationship, from that situation, than if we had him go to WWE. I think both do present intriguing matches. I think WWE's kind of insistence on like the one house style would not be in Okada's favor because he's not going to be able to do. I mean, he obviously can speak English some, but I don't think he's going to be a guy that you can put out there for the traditional 20-minute open Raw promo and have it be on a high level. At the same time, AEW is so much about like come up with your own creative that I don't know, that'll be interesting too. So I don't know. He obviously, wherever he goes, he will be treated like a giant star. He will be received as a giant star. It's not like WWE fans will not know who Okada is. They will. And he'll be treated as a big deal regardless of where he goes. So I do hate this for New Japan, but it does set up a very interesting situation for New Japan about, establishing the next generation and booking moving forward.
I think it's bad and also very good for New Japan. You never want to lose a big-time star, but it forces you to do things as a booker when you do lose that big-time star that could help propel the company for the next 10 years. So I think that's really intriguing. I do want to say, I think the biggest reason, like if this ended up boiling down to Okada just wanted the most money, I think the biggest reason why he would come to America is because of the television deals.
Yeah.
It's
definitely
like in Japan, my understanding is that it's still a very live attendance-based business, which I get.
Yes.
The way television is structured in Japan from an outside perspective and not knowing everything about it, it feels a much, much, much different landscape than it is in America. America, you have hundreds of cable channels, you have the network television, and sports properties are going for just insane amounts of money.
Yeah.
The women's soccer league just got $60 million a year. NXT just got what? $60 million a year from the CW. Like sports properties are just going for nuts amounts right now, and that gives these properties that are getting the money the ability to spend big time money on free agents. So, but it also could just be Okada was just done in New Japan and he just wanted to go to America. Like we just don't know. There's too many variables here at this point, and we're just gonna have to see how it plays out.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be it's just a very interesting situation. And I think more than this is a huge free agency period, and honestly might be one of the biggest in wrestling history, because in the next few weeks we're going to find out where Okada goes, we're going to find out where Mercedes Moné goes, and we're going to find out where Julia goes. And those three are just absolute massive top of the level stars. And it's very exciting, I think.
Yeah, it is really exciting. But let's talk about some other news. Black Taurus signing with AWROH. We'll have to change his name because of copyright issues with the AAA. Sounds like they were okay with AEW using the... So Taurus is owned by the wrestler. Specifically, Black Taurus is owned by AAA. And it sounds like they were okay with them using Black Taurus during the period where they were letting him work AEW and ROH. But now that he's signing, it sounds like they're not.
Yeah. So he'll have to change his look. He'll probably have to get a new mask and all this stuff, and he just won't be recognizable, at least as easily. Obviously, the whole being shaped like a refrigerator box won't change, but yeah, I mean, I think that's a great pickup. I think he will do well regardless of if he's slotted in Ring of Honor as a top guy or AEW is kind of in the middle, which I feel like are the natural landing spots for him. I think it's a good deal for him. AAA is just an absolute shit show these days creatively, and it's a real damn shame. But I love Taurus. I think that if he had just had more opportunities this past year, he would have been like one of my top, wrestlers of the year, like, top 30 or 40. I think he's just the best base out there. I'll respect to Gringo Loco. He's very good, but I think Taurus is better. And I think he's capable of, working a lot of interesting matches.
I have a take on Taurus.
Yeah.
Taurus is discount Tomohiro Ishii. Where I don't think he's ever going to deliver those super high-end matches, but every time you're going to get him, you're going to get this really high baseline of work. And if you put him with the right guys, he's going to deliver something really, really good.
Yeah.
It's more of a construct comparison than like a true one-to-one, but
sure.
I kind of get those vibes, especially if you're talking just in the lucha world. He kind of feels like the Ishii of the lucha world. From an outside perspective, I'm not a lucha expert, but that's just kind of, those are the vibes I get.
Sure, that's fair. He is 36, so he's not like a baby, but he's also not, like Ishii, where he's way up there, relatively speaking, in terms of just being a professional athlete, I guess I should say. But he is 12 years younger than Ishii. By the way, congratulations to CMLL for, I think, getting their first 5-star match from Dave Meltzer ever, which is shocking, frankly. But he went 5 on Mascara Dorada versus Templario back on January 5th.
Oh, hell yeah.
I have yet to watch that again. Just been sick and busy, but yeah. I'm looking forward to checking that out.
I'm gonna have to check that out too. Let's keep moving on. Odie, you okay? Yeah, good boy. CJ Perry says her MRSA infection is headed in the right direction. If you've been following along, her right middle finger, or is it her left middle finger? One of them has a brutal infection in it. She's already had surgery once to relieve pressure and clean it out. Hopefully, they're able to fix it so she can have use of her finger moving forward and not have it amputated, because if it goes in the wrong direction, that is a very real possibility.
Yeah, it's not impossible. Yeah, just a terrible, scary situation, frankly. Obviously we continue to wish her the best. We hope she makes a full recovery and everything. It is looking better. Yeah, this is an update from last Monday, I think it was. But yeah, she looks healthy and looks like she's doing all right. And hopefully that continues.
Yes, good health to everybody. Speaking of health, the wrestling business as a whole, when it comes to talent, is relatively healthy, and that is evident in the latest FSM Top 50.
What a transition. Nailed it.
I'm good at those once in a while. If you've never heard of FSM, it was the old Fighting Spirit magazine, and the tradition of naming the top 50 with a panel has continued on with Voices of Wrestling, and that it is spearheaded by Alan Forel of the Pro Wrestling Torch and the Pro Wrest Paradise podcast. Fred, you've taken a look at the top 50 in depth, and I'm coming in blind, which makes it all the fun for content. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I was given the honor of being invited to vote on it this year, joining the panel of, I think, 10 now. Yeah, and I even did. Yeah, I even 11 actually. But cheap plug for Alan Farrell. I was a guest on his podcast on Pro Wrestling Torch in the VIP section. I think that actually is up now, where we talked about the top 50. And yeah, I thought the voting was really interesting. I thought it was a really interesting thing to go through. I watched, and once I found out that I would be on the panel this year, I really tried to watch as much wrestling as I could. And now I have over 1,600 matches rated for last year. God, that's a lot of wrestling. Yeah, so we ended up. Do you want to go through the whole list? Do you want to go through my personal list? Like, what's your plan here, Tyler?
Look, yeah, you're Mr. FSM Top 50. Let's, however you want to frame it. I'm very intrigued because I intentionally came in blind for this because I knew you want to talk about it, but you didn't tell me you were a panelist.
Yeah, surprise, bitches! It happened. Yeah. So yeah, on Alan's show, we talked through the top 50 and gave our thoughts individually on each one. And so I'll just do the top 5 on the FSM, and then I can go through my top 100 if you want, and we can just have brief discussions about those people. How's that sound?
You're gross.
Okay, I don't know if that's a yes or no, but I guess we'll move forward with
100.
it. Yeah.
Jeez. All right.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I'm extremely a nerd. I don't know what else to tell you. All right, so the top 5 on the FSM 50, and you can see the FSM 50 on voicesofwrestling.com. But the top 5, you know what? Hell, let's do the top 10. Top 10, number 10, Zack Sabre Jr. Number 9, Kenneth Omega. Number 8, Fuminari Abe. Number 7, Mike Bailey. Number 6, Kazuchika Okada. Number 5, Yuma Aoyagi. Number 4, John Moxley. Number 3, Kento Miyahara. Number 2, Bryan Danielson. And number 1, Will Ospreay.
Now, just to be clear, the criteria for this list is the output that they put out this past year, okay?
Yes, that is correct.
I love the input of Fuminari Abe in the top 10. That match he had with Nomura for We Are the Fighting Detectives Produce Show is one of the better matches you'll see all year. The astronauts don't get nearly the exposure that they deserve, considering they're in big Japan, but they're tremendous as well. Look, I don't really have any major qualms. I thought Moxley might be a spot higher. I also thought you might see Nakajima in that top 10 just because of his end-of-year output was so good, but this is a year-long poll. I also think Omega didn't really do shit. So I'm a little surprised to see him in the top 10. But he's also Kenny Omega, so he has a little bit more cachet, which is going to lay in.
Yeah, I mean, that does help. But I do think he had a damn strong year, too. So,
well, let's talk about Omega's year. He had the cage match with Mox. He had Blood and Guts. He had, I think, the small trios run where they had the 2 matches from the best of 7. And then they had the House of Black match, which I did give 5 stars at Revolution. What did he really do outside of that? The Ethan Page match? Like, to me, there just isn't this glut of matches that you can really use to have that conversation.
I had him in 4 or 5 plus star matches this year. I grade like Meltzer, modern Meltzer. So apologies to anyone that gets offended to that. But I had him with the, 2 5-star plus matches with Will Ospreay. I had him. I loved the Kingo match from that one Dynamite. I went 5.5 on that because I thought it was just amazing. And I also had him in a 5-star trios match, the last of the, the feud with Death Triangle. in a Escalera de la Muerte match back on the January 11th, 2023 Dynamite. In addition to that, I thought they had a great trios match with House of Black. I thought he had a great all-out match with Takeshita, and on the one collision a few months ago against MJF. I liked his Triple Mania match against Vikingo, even though AAA production is hell. I loved the Air Fox and Top Flight trios match, and the Jericho Garcia and Guevara match, and the Moxley Steel Cage. I actually really liked his random Dynamite match against Wheeler Yuta. And I thought the Wrestle Dream Trios was great. The Kyle Fletcher match was great. I liked the street fight with Paul White as a teammate. I thought that was really good against Brian Cage and the Callis family. The Young Bucks tag with Jericho, I thought was really good. I mean, I thought he had just a ton of great matches. So I think if you actually, look a little deeper at his year, I think he was actually having great matches on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah, maybe I'm just...
You're a hater.
Retconning it differently. Yeah, maybe I'm just a hater.
Just a hater.
Yeah, I guess he had more than I remembered, but it still felt like a bad year for Omega, and a bad year for Omega is still a good year for pretty much everybody else.
Exactly. And we're going to see this in a few years, probably sometime in the near future with Will Ospreay, just because he's not going to work that schedule, and he's going to slow down at some point. So he's going to be like, if you take a statistical look at it, I guess, as much as you can, this kind of subjective thing, but he's going to have like a year where he's like the 5th best wrestler in the world, and you're going to get a lot of think pieces about how, he's done, he's toast, and we kind of had that with Okada a few years ago, where he went from being like probably, the acclaimed, the best wrestler in the world, to like a step down to where, he's only, air quotes, only the 4th best wrestler or something. And then we got a lot of like, oh my God, is Okada done now? Discussion.
Oh boy, I can't wait for that.
Also, just for the record, the top woman in the FSM 50 was Julia from Stardom. She finished 15th. One thing I really like about this year's FSM versus last year's was we had a lot more Lucha representation in the final 50, with Teton on top at 11th, but also the likes of Mystico and Soberano Jr.
That's my boy. Love Soberano Jr.
Oh, he rules. You got to get a fur coat and a limo to become a Rudo, and buddy, that's a great way to go. But yeah, here's I'll go through my top 100. So the promotions I did watch closely, at least in terms of like getting all their major matches that were well received, were AEW, WWE, Impact, New Japan, All Japan, Noah, and Stardom and Tokyo Joshi Pro. I did not get to watch like the last month or two of Stardom, so that pushes them down a little bit. And also, I did my best with DDT and Dragon Gate, but I don't think I did a fantastic job with those. Oh, and Samuel and AAA as well, even though AAA had a rough year. I didn't really get into like the European or American indie scenes, but otherwise, I think I did, as well as reasonably I could for a guy that's not doing this for a living. So, all right, so here's my top 100 in reverse order. Tyler, I'll give you a chance to share any thoughts after each 5.
I'm glad you're going to be doing a lot of talking, because Odie is borking at something outside right now.
So give us a good opportunity to for you to further investigate. All right, so I had Starlight Kid 100th, Trent Beretta 99th, Drew McIntyre 98th, Utami Hayashishita at 97, and Taichi at 96.
Taichi's too low.
I wasn't very impressed by his 2023. I thought he
had
regressed.
For me, he had a 4 3/4 star match and a 5-star match this year. I get it, but at the same time, he peaked so high for me. In a vacuum, I just feel like he should be higher. The match against Will Ospreay from the G1.
Oh, that was great. Yeah,
I gave 5 stars, and I think that was my 6th or 7th on Voice of Wrestling's Match of the Year poll. I'll have to pull that up actually, because I can't remember where I put it, but I had it very highly. That was one of the best finishing stretches I saw all year.
I only went 4.5 on it because I'm a hater.
I had it at 7th, and we can talk about our top 10 match of the year list later today or next week. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We can have a live production meeting and figure that out.
Sounds good. My next 5, 95th, Gringo Loco, 94, Hazuki, 93, Dragon Dia from Dragon Gate, 92, Sammy Guevara, and 91, Jonathan Gresham.
Did Gresham wrestle that much this year?
Impact mainly. He was mainly Impact. He had a series of like very solid matches, like a lot of stuff I had in the 4 to 4.5 range, but like some good stuff with Bailey. He had a good world title shot against Alex Shelley in Impact. He had, I think, maybe Eddie Edwards' best match of the year in Impact, which at this point in time is feather in the cap. And yeah, I think he just was a really solid worker. I don't know that he really got like a huge push or anything in Impact. He was always kind of like a second tier guy, at least in terms of how he was used last year, but I think he did a damn good job with what he was able to do.
Yeah, okay. Makes sense. I just don't remember hearing much from Gresham after he said he was joining Impact. Like, I don't remember hearing about matches. I don't remember really seeing anything.
He wasn't really pushed like a big deal, which was kind of a surprise. I would have thought they would have pushed him a little harder, but all right, my next fight, 90, Samoa Joe, 89, Josh Alexander, number 88, Yoshihashi, 87, Seth Rollins, and 86, Azumi.
Samoa Joe's going to be a top 10 by the end of the year.
If he works regularly. That's always the concern with him, because he was great whenever he did get a big match, but he didn't get a whole lot of them in 2023.
I'm sorry. He is the savior of all elite wrestling. Yeah, maybe not top 10. I think top 20. Like, the work Samoa Joe is doing is arguably the best of his career right now, which is saying something because it's Samoa fucking Joe.
Yeah.
Just
you want to talk about the hook match now, since we're kind of at a natural transition point?
Nope, we can talk about that later, because we are talking the FSM top 15. Your psychotic top 100.
All right, next 5, 85.
I mean that in
a good way. Yeah, it's good psychotic. Yeah, like Michael Jordan with the Bulls, not after. 85, Chris Brooks. 84, Francesco Akira. 83, Micah. 82, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and 81, Shoko Nakajima.
It's really unfortunate that Chris Brooks got hurt, because I think he just won DDT's top title.
Yeah, he did. Great match.
Yeah, who did he beat? Was it Endo?
I think it may have been. Actually, I think it may have been Yuji Hino, which worked even better because like Hino is massive and Brooks is tall and skinny, and so it made a good visual.
Mm-hmm. It's okay, buddy.
All right. Next one's 80, Shun Skywalker. I am much lower on him than the FSM final placement. 79, Ryuka Honda. 78, Miyu Watanabe from Tokyo Joshi Pro, who I think is going to possibly be top 50 in the near future. 77, Kushida, and 76, Kevin Owens.
I will say Miyu Watanabe. I believe the guys at Jumping Bomb Audio on this podcast network, Taylor and Kelly, both have very, very high opinions of Watanabe, and I know they absolutely loved the 10-woman tag. Best. I think
still haven't watched that.
Yeah. From December 1st. It was like the new generation versus the old generation. They said it was absolutely phenomenal. So I do need to seek that out and watch it. I have the link. I just need to.
By the time. I feel you on that. All right. Next 5. 75, Naruki Doi. 74, Brody King. 73, Rika Tatsumi. 72, TJP. And 71, Mao from DDT.
Mao rules. I had never seen Mao until WrestleMania weekend, because DDT is just. I'll never forget the first time I watched a Peter Pan, and I watched the Weapons Rumble, and the third one in there was they drew blood from one of the wrestlers, and I just thought it was the most hilarious thing I'd ever seen. And I'm like, this is not pro wrestling, but this is so pro wrestling. It's so
DDT
great.
Is such a weird promotion, even now when it's like not really that wacky compared to how it previously was for the most part.
DDT is just not for me, and that's okay, but I totally understand why it is for some people.
That's about where I am with it. Like, I like some of the stuff they do, but I'm not a pheromones guy, and that stable like is seemingly on every show doing stuff, and I'm like, all right, that's okay. All right, next 5. 70, Yota Tsuji. 69, Chris Jericho. 68, Suzu Suzuki. 67, Ilya Dragunov. And 66, Wheeler Yuta.
Jericho at 69 is so ironic.
I knew you were going to make a comment on that, and I just knew it.
Any
other
kept
thoughts?
It as least cancelable as possible.
Right.
It's just because of everything that came out. Him being at that number is just
Yeah.
just
Tsuji is Yota Tsuji. I'm very excited about this coming year. I think he could really. I would not be shocked if he was on next year's FSM.
Because
he rules.
Tsuji could be top 20 easily.
Yeah,
and
he just needs the opportunities.
Depends. Yeah, well, and there's 4 of them right now in New Japan, and somebody's going to have to step up.
Yeah.
Who's it going to be? I don't think it's going to be Narita because he's with House of Torture. But we'll find out.
Yeah. 65, Manabu Soya. 64, Go Shiozaki. 63, Angel de Oro from CMLL. 62, Daniel Garcia. And 61, Sami Zayn.
Soya's really come around this year. He's looked a lot better. He looked really good against Keno in that title match on Noah the New Year. He beat Sonata, which was the genesis of Sonata leaving LIJ and forming Just Five Guys.
That was a good storyline for that show.
He was a really important figure in pro wrestling this year.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about WWE in general because Sami Zayn is my second highest WWE guy. And there's going to be some people that are like, well, why don't you rank WWE guys higher? It's not so much ability. Like, Sami Zayn's a great wrestler. Kevin Owens is a great wrestler. It's about the work. It's about this isn't like a who's the best wrestlers in the world kind of list. It's a who had the best year in ring. So to me, two things that matter that are the things that matter really for this are match quality and match quantity, and how often are you having those great matches. And WWE just is not a promotion built around having great matches on a regular basis. And if I'm going to use those two things as the central, the backbone, the central tenets of my rankings, then WWE is just kind of put in a position where they aren't going to rank as high because they go against what I value for this. Mm-hmm. So it's fine. WWE's getting more than their fair share of flowers. Please look at the PWI awards that just came out this week. I just, it's just how this works. Mm-hmm. Okay, next 5. 60, Leo Rush, who I nearly said Roosh because of locker room leader Roosh. 59, Black Taurus. 58, Master Wato. 57, Big Boss Shimizu.
Yeah,
I love him. And 56, MJF. MJF was another one that I saw some people like, I can't believe he's not on there. MJF doesn't wrestle that much.
No, he doesn't.
That's the problem with this again, is I do think quantity matters, quantity of great matches. Mm-hmm. He had the great Bryan Danielson one. And he had like the Kenny Omega match was really great. I liked his tag match with Adam Cole against FTR. The Takeshita match way back in February was great. I liked the actual work from the Double or Nothing 4-corner match. I liked the first Adam Cole match. I liked the first Samoa Joe match. He had a good fair share of great matches, but it's just that there's like weeks and weeks between them sometimes. That hurts him in my silly rankings.
Yeah, I think one of the big things we already briefly touched on, the output is going to be really important with this discussion.
Yeah, because just as a point of reference, MJF had 7 notebook matches, 4+ star matches for me. And the guys in the top 10 all had like 15 or more, or 14 or more. And that's just, mathematically, that's hard to, come back from. Mm-hmm. All right, next 5. 55, Chris Sabin. 54, Tom Nakano from Stardom. Nakano, if I could speak properly. 53, Ray Phoenix. 52, Mayu Iwatani. And 51, Kota Minoura.
I'm a little surprised Phoenix is on there because hasn't he been out for like half the year?
Yeah, he missed yeah, but he had I love Phoenix as a worker, and I thought he had a great half of the year when he was healthy. Relative to what he was being pushed to in particular. But another thing with Stardom is I just thought they had a real flop of a year. I actually thought
especially
Tokyo Joshi
business-wise.
Yeah.
Business-wise was not good.
But also in terms of output, creatively, whatever you want to put it, I thought it was just a dire year for them. So I'm much lower on them this year, and they're not even my top Joshi wrestler. We'll get to that in a bit, but I think that's a lot of injuries hurts them in this ranking too. So.
I do think Saban being that high is good. Saban had a very good year.
He did have a very good year.
The Motor City Machine Guns, the story arc with the GCW titles putting over East West Express was very good. His X Division run has been really good. Like, Saban had a really good year, and he's 41, 42?
Yeah, he's in his 40s.
Doesn't look like it.
No, still a great wrestler. Next 5, number 50, Tetsuya Naito. 49, FTR. I do group tag teams together if they're, tag teams. 48, Athena. 47, Julia. And 46, Miyo Yamashita.
Yamashita rules, man.
She does.
I really don't watch a lot of Tokyo Joshi, but every time I do, she stands out. I would like to see her featured in an American professional wrestling company, because I want to see more of her. And I think she could have fascinating matches with some of the bigger stars, but I also don't trust any company to push her the right way.
Yeah. I will say that, I think that I would like to see her have an American match on TV, just as a make good from the Thunder Rosa one that was kind of a mess 2 years ago, because I think Thunder Rosa just wasn't physically up to it. But, weird stuff does happen, but she's great in Tokyo Joshi in particular. Next 5, 45, Mark Briscoe. 44, Mark Davis. 43, Volador Jr. 42, Sonata. And 41, Mizuki.
I don't have anything.
All right, cool.
Good group of wrestlers.
Next 5, 40, Gunter. 39, Alex Shelley. 38, Yuki Yoshioka from Dragon Gate. 37, Kaito Kiyomiya. And 36, Templario.
Really thought Shelley would be a little bit higher, considering how good his run with the Impact World title, or the TNA World title, was.
Formerly Impact.
He had a very good year.
Yeah, he did have a very good year. I thought he had a lot of very solid, great matches, but not top tier stuff, really. Nothing close to the 5-star range for me. Next 5, 35, Rocky Romero. 34, Pentagon Jr. 33, Kyle Fletcher. 32, Mystico. And 31, Shingo Takagi.
Tell me why Rocky Romero's behind Kyle Fletcher.
I think Kyle Fletcher has had a lot of good matches. He actually had a better run in New Japan, I think, than you would probably give him credit for, between when Mark Davis was healthy and they were having good tag matches, and also when he was having singles matches. He had some very good ones in AEW, like the one against Bryan Danielson, the one against Kenny Omega. Those were both quite good, I thought. And he also had a 4-star match with Yoshihashi in the New Japan Cup.
Yeah, but Rocky Romero, the stuff he was doing in Mexico was incredible.
Yeah, I just think it was a little lower on Rocky Romero, I guess, relatively to you. I really liked his CMLL stuff, but he also disappeared from CML for 4 months, so that didn't help.
Yeah. All right, let's continue on.
All right, number 30, Konosuke Takeshita. 29, Jay White. 28, Orange Cassidy. 27, El Desperado. And 26, Mascara Dorada.
Hell yeah, Despy. Hell yeah. That's all I got.
Okay, next 5, 25, Commander. 24, El Soberano Jr. 23, The Young Bucks. 22, Katsuhiko Nakajima. And 21, Darby Allin.
Okay.
Number 20, Shota Umino. 19, Madoka Kikuta. 18, Eddie Kingston. 17, Adam Page. And 16, Keno. Keno rules.
Keno does rule, man. I think he's a perfect fit for Noah, other than Noah is just a trashly
being dumb.
God, Keno rocks. He's a guy that I would have loved to have seen in the territory days, go into a territory for 3 months, just beat the piss out of everybody and put over the baby face at the end and leave.
Yeah, just spend a month just kicking jobbers in the head.
Oh, how great would that be?
That would have been awesome.
South or Mid-Atlantic. Oh, I'd love it. He's a throwback in a modern way, and I love Keno.
I think he's a great guy for Noah to have as their flag bearer. if they would actually figure it out, that he should be their flag bearer. I mean, Kata Kumiya, I would put above him, frankly, in that ranking, but it feels like he's already halfway out. So, what a mess of a promotion, buddy. Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
All right, 15, Hiromu Takahashi. 14, Tomohiro Ishii. 13, Swerve Strickland. 12, Teton, and 11, Zack Sabre Jr.
Hell yeah, Teton and Swerve. This is the next generation, baby.
Yeah, it's great to see some of these younger guys up here. It's just a very exciting time, I think, to be a wrestling fan. And then my top 10 in order: Claudio Castagnoli, Yuma Aoyagi, Hijo del Vikingo, Mike Bailey, Kazuchika Okada, John Moxley, Kenny Omega, Kento Miyahara, Bryan Danielson, and Will Ospreay.
Good list.
That is a list of wrestlers. We probably have no listeners now.
That's okay. The real ones stick around.
Yeah.
We appreciate
the real heads that love just hearing names. Next week, we'll just remember some guys. Just
Jock
straight up,
Green.
like just 15 minutes of just naming guys from the NFL. Najee Davenport.
Oh, dude, Najee Davenport was in the same backfield as Willis McGahee, Frank Gore, and Clinton Portis.
What a group. What a wild.
What a group.
Eddie Lacy. All right. Let's talk wrestling. Let's talk about Dynamite and Collision. Because I think we just kind of covered all the news and then my dumb opinion shit. Any thoughts on Collision? Because man, I thought that was I think the last 2 weeks of Collision have just been a real grind.
I'll be honest, I have no thoughts on Collision. I just thought it was an inoffensive, average ass show.
Yeah. I'm not like mad about it or anything, but it's like a total 5 out of 10 show. I think that that House of Black versus FTR and Daniel Garcia match is actually a good encapsulation of the past couple of weeks of Collision, where it's like, okay, you did this for 30 minutes. It would have been a lot better if you structured this for 18.
Yep.
I mean, it just is, it's not a bad match. I went 3.5 on it, but like, that's the highest rated thing I had on the show. It's just kind of, it was way too long. It was way too long, and I just kind of hated that.
Fair.
I did not watch Battle of the Belts because of time considerations. I did like the angle they did at the end of Collision to set up Battle of the Belts and kind of give that tag match a hot start with the brawling backstage.
Yeah. I got nothing to say.
Verbose Tyler Fornes. All right, let's talk about Dynamite, I guess, since we're just skipping everything else on Collision. Like, is there literally nothing else you want to talk about on this show? Because I'm not going to argue with you.
No, it was just an average-ass wrestling show. It existed. It was inoffensive. I don't regret it, but no, I got nothing. I
do want to ask you. I will ask you. What do you think about the Adam Copeland Open Challenge series?
I kind of like it.
Yeah.
I think it's a good way for Copeland to just get more television time, and I really hope they do a lot of younger wrestlers. Like, I hope an Action Andretti goes out and challenges him, and they just have like a 15-minute television match, because I think that could be really useful. I think it's a good use of Copeland, keeping him out of a lot of the top stuff and getting him on television, because the fans really do like him. He gets the big pops. He actually has been okay as far as the ratings and like the minute by minutes and stuff, quarter hours. So getting him in there, getting some other wrestlers TV time, getting them in ring work, and then whatever Copeland has next, if it's more Christian Cage, if it's something else, this is a good way to keep him on TV and get your money's worth.
Yeah, basically, I concur. I do wish that the matches were a little better. I think that for this to really be effective, I do think you want like better than just like 3-star specials. But I think that might be a problem with Adam Copeland. It feels like his matches are always very solid, but not that spectacular.
It's very WWE of him.
Yes, it is. Speaking of WWE, Dynamite's first match was Christian Cage against Dustin Rhodes, a couple of old E-vets, and I thought they put on a pretty good match.
Yeah, I missed some of this because I was cooking dinner, but
Rude.
it just hey, you know what? The wife has to eat, so I am the cook in the house. Look, good match.
Yeah.
Two veterans just busting ass, doing great stuff. I like it.
Yeah, I thought this was a very, very solid professional match. I kind of think Dustin Rhodes kicking out of the kill switch was a little excessive. Probably would have just had him kick out of the spear, but I'm just picking bits at this point. I thought it was a really good match. I thought Dustin Rhodes had a nice showing, and
I did miss the finish. So Dustin got finished with a spear.
no, he got speared and then hit with the kill switch, which was a two count, and then the second kill switch finished him off.
Okay, because if he got finished with the spear, that's something to be mindful of. Okay,
I would have just had him. Like I was just saying that I would have had him do the two count kick out, surprise kick out for the spear right before the end.
All right.
Then we got promos with Swerve Strickland saying that I thought this was quite good. Talking about how he's focused on the World Championship, but he gets asked about Hangman by Renee, and he's like, "Hey, he's really good, but he can't beat me. I beat him twice. He can't. I don't have to do it again. I have no one to prove it to." So they're definitely setting up a Swerve Hangman match. I think the only question is if it's going to be a 3-way with Samoa Joe at Revolution. But I thought this was quite a good promo.
I love Swerve.
He's great. He really is. Chris Jericho next with Renee talked about how he's just pissed about losing the tag match, blaming the Callis family, and put over how he beat Takeshita and DDT. So he's going to seek and destroy them. And then Matt Sydal comes in and says, "Hey, you're really fixated on this. Maybe you should face someone who's beaten you before, and it's me," and basically makes a challenge. And then Jericho drops a cute little line where he goes, "Maybe you were born to do this." Born. And so they set up a Rampage match.
Tremendous line. Absolutely tremendous line.
Yeah, that was cute. That was very cute. Next up, we had Best Friends, Orange Cassidy and Trent Beretta with a Chuck Taylor appearance, and then Commander and Penta with a Ray Phoenix appearance, the injured buddies on the outside. This was a good match. Not like what I'll remember at the end of the year, but this was fun. I went 3 3/4 on it. Just some fun stuff.
It felt like a Rampage match, and I don't mean that as insulting.
Yeah, that's in a good way. Yeah, I don't disagree. It's good to see Trent get a little shine. Getting the pinfall on Commander. I think Commander would look very good in the match. I mean, I thought they all did. So, just fun stuff. And then afterwards, we had the Kingdom come out, and Roddy challenged Orange Cassidy, who accepted right there, right then. And of course, Roddy, being the heel, said, "Let's wait till Revolution."
Good stuff.
Yeah, just a solid segment all around.
That match could be has like sneaky 5-star potential.
It does. There's I don't know that I put it at a high probability just because of where it'll be on the card and everything, but they can put out a real classic, I think, and should be a lot of fun, frankly. Next up, we had Renee backstage with Hangman. So he talks about how you wouldn't find anyone over the past 5 years who cared more about the AEW World Championship. He's going to win it again. He was asked about Swerve, and then he said, "I don't even think about him at all." And then he does do the one thing that I kind of think they've been missing in this whole feud or this whole storyline over the past couple of weeks, where he actually acknowledges that Hook could win the title. He goes, maybe the world champion will be you, Hook. God be with you. And I thought that was an awesome line. Nice way to end that promo. And then we had a really lovely segment where Mark Briscoe comes out. He talks about how the Briscoes were the best tag team in the world. It's been a year since Jay passed away. And he talked about how his nieces were in the truck with Jay, and they were told that the oldest niece would never walk again. Well, out they come. They got an entrance. Got a little teary-eyed here. This was a really nice segment. Just Mark, says you can't stop us. We love you all. And then they do the Jay Briscoe tribute video from a year ago, which is still a great video. I think this is actually a nice little defining feature of AEW versus WWE, where when real world shit happens, like they don't use it for heat, like this kind of real world stuff. They aren't going to like have Randy Orton come out and say, well, Eddie Guerrero's in hell now, that kind of stuff. And I thought this was lovely. I thought this was just a very kind thing to do.
How cool was it to see her walk out of there?
It was awesome.
That's so awesome. Dem Boys forever.
Yeah, Dem Boys forever. Rest in peace, Jay Briscoe. All right. Next up on the show, we had the Renee sit down with the Young Bucks. And Tyler, you want to take this one?
Oh, God. This is one of the greatest things I've ever seen. There is nobody.
I love this lot.
There is nobody in the history of professional wrestling that can make themselves a douchebag better than the Young Bucks. And the way they were, how pretentious they were, how they utilized reality into the storyline, talking about how they're EVPs and asking, Renee, do you get your paycheck? You're welcome. Just, this is great stuff. And
Nicholas and Matthew.
Oh, just phenomenal. Just so good.
Matt cut a hell of a promo here. I think got to give him credit for that specifically.
Hey, Matthew, excuse me.
Sorry, I apologize.
Get it right.
I'm not on payroll, so I guess I can't call him Matt disrespectfully. Yeah, I thought Matt did a very good promo here. This did a good job of establishing their characters. It's just I don't know, classic Young Bucks, prick heels, but they're in suits.
Just they looked like pretentious douchebags.
They got the crappy mustaches that are fantastic.
They looked like shitty French painters from like 1884. Like just so good.
Yeah.
Nobody is a douchebag better than the Young Bucks.
Yeah, they're just look like total jerks. And
I don't know.
This was a great segment.
I don't know if this is better than their arc where they were dyeing their hair really shitty blonde and it trying to look like douchebag Shawn Michaels. But this is so good. They're
really good at just naturally making themselves look like jerks too. Like that's an underrated part of their act.
They obviously talked about Sting and potential retirement match, and they kind of danced around it, but they almost said yeah. Then later on in the show, we had a little promo with Darby and Sting, a little pre-tape, and they said that they're 26-0 as a team, and they want the tag team titles. So we're probably going to get a Sting and Darby versus Big Bill and Ricky Starks within the next couple weeks, I'd say.
Yeah, it seems like it, and that'll be fun, man. That'll be a lot of fun. All right. Next up was the Bullet Club Gold challenging for the Ring of Honor World 6-Man Championships against the Mogul Embassy. And I guess I was the high man on this in general. I went 4 stars on this. I thought this was a blast. I really liked this.
I really enjoyed it too. 4 stars is what I gave it.
Oh, okay.
If I would have told you in April when Jay White debuted with AEW, I think it was April, that his peak so far in the company would be ROH 6-Man champion, would you
that would
have
sound like a
believed me?
disaster? No, I would not. Yeah, if you told me that, I would have been like, oh, that would have been an awful year for him. But I do think he's had in general, pretty good year.
Yeah, just overall, been a disappointing run for him. But he hasn't been bad. He's been very good. It's just he just hasn't been in a lot of those high-profile spots.
Yeah.
I really think we need to start making Collision like have their own storylines, and then have some that bleed over to Dynamite, and have Dynamite have their own storylines. Not a split roster, but there's more that we can be doing with this roster with how much television time there is, and I just want to see it.
Yeah, I mean, they do that a little bit, but I do think that there's some ways that it could be better.
All right. What was next? Was it the top flight match?
It was, well, there's the Adam Cole and Wardlow pre-tape, which was a solid little promo, and then it was Anna Jay and Deonna Purrazzo, which I thought was a serviceable way to introduce Purrazzo. I thought Anna Jay looked a little, not smooth at points, but I still thought this was a solid match. I went 3 stars on it.
God, Anna Jay looks like $1 million whenever she gets into the ring.
Yeah.
She's got the personality, she's got the look, she's got the physique. She just looks it, and then you see her wrestle, and it's like, all right, we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it.
Purrazzo, to me, feels different than a lot of the women on this roster, and I think she's going to elevate the baseline significantly. I don't know if she's ever going to be a tippy top, but I think she could be in the upper mid card in this division for the next 5 years, and I'd be very happy with that.
Yeah, I think she could be a really good second tier star. I think she's behind like Hayter and Storm in general, but yeah, I think she's looked pretty good so far. I don't think she's like going to be a natural on the mic, a high level person there, but I do think she's acquitted herself well so far in that aspect of things.
Yeah. I'm very excited to see what her versus Timeless Tony's going to look like. I think they could easily have a 4-star match. This is a good opponent, and I'm genuinely intrigued.
Yeah. And all right, I have ripped on the Tony Storm gimmick largely since it's since it was first revealed. I enjoyed this Tony Storm segment. I think this is the second week in a row I've said that. Maybe they figured out a way to make it good, at least in my opinion.
It's less cartoony bullshit, and it's just more genuine.
And more witty rather than just like, we're going to be wacky kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
And I think that's a key change. We had, of course, Anna and Deonna shook hands afterwards because baby faces. Anyways, Deonna cuts a little fine, it's fine promo where she's like, you never met the greatest technical women's wrestler, the Virtuosa, even though we used to be like sisters. And Tony grabs the mic. She's outraged. She referred to herself as technical. Technically speaking, my past is none of your concern. I ought to march in the ring and sock you right in your box.
Phenomenal line.
Oh my god, that was very good. I enjoyed her being on Luther's shoulders and then just throwing a shoe at her after she hit her catchphrase.
And then Purrazzo chucked it at Mariah May.
Yeah, I thought they stayed on this a little too long. Like they should have cut a commercial like pretty much right after Tony cut the through the shoe. But in general, this was way better than I've been, in my opinion, than other Tony Storm stuff. So if they're like figuring out how to actually do this gimmick and make it work, that's a plus, obviously, especially because she's the women's champion. So, all right. Next up, Private Party and Top Flight. I liked this match, and I also kind of hated it. I went 3.5 on it, but it was a weird match to me.
Mark Quinn was obviously rusty, but
yeah,
the gin and juice looked great. The 450 looked great. And I'm just going to chalk it up to Mark Quinn being rusty after being out for a year.
Yeah, it was the in-between stuff that he was rough with. And
Private Party's always been good at the high spots.
Their
issue has always been cohesively linking everything together.
Yeah. I think this made it very clear why Top Flight is higher on the pecking order than Private Party, even though Private Party was brought in to basically be what Top Flight was originally. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Private Party going forward. I'm not saying there's nothing there. I do think that they can be a solid tag team, but in modern AEW, it is tough to be like a second tier tag team in this company because the tag team division is not being treated like an actual main event program in general. And it's just a tough position to be in. So we'll see. But the private party did get the win. Mark Quinn used the ropes. Now the question is, was he just kind of trying to steady himself, or was he actually cheating? They did a good job, if that was intended, of using that as an angle. At the same time, I would also buy it if that was a complete botch. Afterwards, we got a little Sting Darby hype video, and then Tyler, as I hear myself echo, and then we got Hook and Samoa Joe in the Greatest Squash. Although I wouldn't really call this a squash, but
it's an extended squash. That's what it is.
A wonderfully put together match that was worked really well. And it's not a 5-star match, but in terms of doing what they wanted to do, this was a 5-star match.
Oh, 5-star squash. In reality, 4.25.
Yeah, that's where I was 4.25 as well.
Phenomenal. In every possible way. Hook started jumping him, and then Joe kind of took control. Hook kept fighting resiliently, knowing that he was an underdog, and just kept socking him with punches and punches and punches. Joe took control with that standing Uranagi off the table. That was one of the coolest table bumps I've ever seen, because he hits because they have that almost like little arc that it says AEW on it, that little cover. He hits the cover and the edge of the table, and then the table kind of collapses in the opposite direction. And then they get back in the ring. Samoa Joe hits the muscle buster, and then the 1 count kick out. Phenomenally timed. He knows he's screwed, but he's not going to give up without a fight. He's not going to stop. And then you get
This was great underdog babyface work here.
Oh, yeah. You get Hook with a blaze of glory. You get a few clotheslines. You get the punches in the corner. And then you get the T-bone. And then pretty quickly after, Joe's like, all right, you're done, kid. And just chokes him out.
Yeah.
But then Hook, resilient as ever, stands up after the match when Joe's leaving. That all you got? Joe comes in and gives him another muscle buster. And he's about to say it again. And then Hangman Page comes out. And then we get Swerve Strickland. Look, phenomenal. Hook is made. Hook is for real.
Yeah, this was a great way. This is all about getting over in a loss. 100%. I love this so much. And I do have to ask you, did Joe kick Hook in the nuts in the post match, and also did he do that? And was that supposed to be part of the angle, or was it just a total accident? I'm not sure.
If it was a total accident, god damn did it work. If it was real, it's perfect. That's just a little added touch that makes things better. And
Joe is just the best at being this kind of heel, just the ass kicking heel. And I can't believe, it's just the easiest thing in the world. And I can't believe how many times throughout his career, outside forces were we have to overcomplicate this, I'm not saying he can't be a babyface at times. He definitely can. He's good in that role. But he's great at just being this jerk of a heel. And yeah.
Just awesome.
Just
phenomenal.
Awesome.
Phenomenal stuff. This could be that 10th match of the year.
That would be it. This would be, this is definitely a the token. I just want to mention this match kind of deal.
Yeah, just phenomenal. Do you want to do top 10s next week?
Yeah, well, let's do top 10s next week. I feel I've already killed the list gimmick this week, so
you really have. For those of you that don't know, the Voice of Wrestling Media Match of the Year poll, and this one is unique because it is only members of the media. If you host a podcast, if you write about professional wrestling in any way, shape, or form, you are eligible for a ballot. There are only a couple days left as voting closes on Sunday, September 21st. And hats off to Voice of Wrestling's Jeremy Sexton for creating arguably the greatest ballot of all time. And just making it so easy to get put together. It's phenomenal stuff. But we will share our top 10 match of the year lists, and It's in my opinion, the best poll because it draws from so many different areas of wrestling media. It draws from dozens of countries and people that have different viewing experiences. Some are Joshi focused, some are WWE focused, some do everything like lucha. It's all different, but that's what makes it so great because it gets so many different opinions in one poll, and usually there is a consensus number one. So I'm very intrigued to kind of see how everything shapes up this year. How many of my matches, because I think I had 7 in the top 10 last year. I don't think I'll have that this year because there's so many good matches out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what the results are, and I'm looking forward to it quite a bit.
With that is the Good, the Bad, and the Hungee for this week. Please like, comment, subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and do all the fun things to help us out and let us know how you feel about the show. And you can also interact with us in the Voices of Wrestling Discord, where we have our own channel, The Good, the Bad, and the Hungee. There, at times, is some really good discussion there, including how you can send questions the next time we hopefully have Dave Meltzer on the podcast. If you missed that, it was a few weeks back. Scroll back and you'll be able to find it. From Fred and Tyler, enjoy your weekend.
Take care, everyone.
Hi, my name is Tyler Fornes, and I am the co-host of The Good, the Bad, and the Hungee here on the Voice of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Every week, my co-host Fred Moreland and I discuss all the happenings of All Elite Wrestling and everything going on in the universe of Tony Khan. We talk about Dynamite, we talk about Rampage, and we will talk about Collision when the time comes as well, along with all the appearances outside of AEW from all the best talents in All Elite Wrestling. This is one of the more cohesive wrestling companies in the entire world, and we discuss every intricacy about it, including the unique booking of Tony Khan that is both a huge positive and a major detriment. Check us out every single Thursday here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network.